Good to be with you. I'm Tony Dokoupil. The breaking news right now. Venezuela in a state of emergency tonight. The police launching a national manhunt for anyone who supported the U.S. capture of dictator Nicolas Maduro. And the breaking news on that here in New York, Maduro and his wife in a federal courtroom for the very first time. Wearing blue prison shirts, they pleaded not guilty to gun and drug charges. Maduro telling the court, "I'm a decent man." What the judge said about a fair trial. And the big news on vaccines today, the CDC out with new guidance for parents, cutting the number of recommended childhood vaccinations from 17 to 11. Also developing tonight, huge political news out of Minnesota.
I can't give a political campaign my all.
Billions of dollars in alleged fraud and the fate of Governor Tim Walz. What's the My Pillow guy have to do with all of it? And finally tonight, only in America, what a small town in Oregon just did to avoid higher taxes. Would you do the same?
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Tony Dokoupil.
Good evening, I'm Tony Dokoupil, and we begin here in New York City, where the now deposed president and former First Lady of Venezuela appeared today in federal court just 2 days after U.S. commandos snatched them from a compound in Caracas. The historic pictures coming in all day. Nicolas Maduro and Cilia Flores under heavy guard, clad in those blue jail shirts. And then once inside the court, they pleaded not guilty to all the charges against them. Maduro at one point tried to rise and address the court before the judge cut him off. So let's go straight to Matt Gutman, our chief correspondent, our new chief correspondent, by the way. Welcome. He was there for all of it, and he joins us now from the Federal Detention Center in Brooklyn, where Maduro and his wife are being held at this hour. Matt, good evening.
Good evening, Tony. It has been a stunning turn of events for Maduro, who just a couple of days ago was the ruler of an oil-rich nation. Now he is in a freezing jail cell in that detention facility behind me. Now, in court earlier, he was both compliant and defiant, saying that he was kidnapped, but also that he is still the legal president of Venezuela. Under heavy guard, Nicolas Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores were flown from a federal jail in Brooklyn to Manhattan this morning, surrounded by Drug Enforcement Agency officials. The shackled former president of Venezuela shuffled from the chopper to an armored vehicle and was then driven to a federal courthouse, where he was greeted by the NYPD and protesters. What we have right now are demonstrators here right outside the courthouse. They're saying, "Who are we, Venezuela? What do we want? Freedom." Now, they've been here for about 2 hours. On the other side, there are people who oppose his detention. Inside the courtroom, Maduro, in a dark prison jumpsuit, was initially defiant, declaring through a translator that he's a decent man, was innocent of all the charges, and was still the president of Venezuela. Both he and his wife then pleaded not guilty. Maduro faces 4 federal drug and weapons-related charges. He was indicted during the first Trump administration in 2020. Federal prosecutors accused Maduro, his wife, sons, and others of partnering with some of the most violent and prolific drug traffickers and narco-terrorists in the world to distribute thousands of tons of cocaine to the United States for decades. Saturday's risky operation by the U.S. military sliced right into the heart of Venezuela's capital. During the raid, Flores' attorney said she may have suffered an injury to her ribs. It is unclear if Maduro was injured, but in court the judge promised them full medical attention. What happens next?
So the arraignment is the official start of this clock ticking for the trial. Both sides have waived their right to a speedy trial, meaning this could be quite a bit of time. There will be multiple...
Meaning months, years?
Absolutely.
Now, at one point during the arraignment, it seemed that Maduro was trying to grandstand, and the judge shut him right down. He said, "I just need to know that you understand the charges against you and your rights." Now, at this point, Maduro's lawyers have waived his right to bail, which means he'll be staying in that detention facility behind me. His next court appearance is March 17th, Tony.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. Glad to have you with us. While Maduro and his wife are in a cell here in America, a battle is underway for their country, for the future of Venezuela. Who's in charge there? Is it Maduro's deputies or is it the United States? Ed O'Keefe is on this tonight for us from the White House. Ed, good evening to you. Feel it. Christian, thank you very much. Appreciate it. The arrest of Maduro sent oil stocks higher today, with Chevron leading the way. The Dow hit a record high of nearly 49,000. Oil prices are also up. So what does that mean for the price you pay at the pump? Business analyst Jill Schlesinger is here to talk about it. All right, Jill. So a lot of focus here on the oil industry, those huge reserves. How quickly can we see an impact on the market here?
I think this is a long-term project, and we have to understand that although that Venezuela is sitting on over 300 billion barrels of oil, only 3/4 of it is easy to extract. That's one problem. The second problem is the infrastructure to do the refining really needs an upgrade. It's been degraded over 2 decades. So what we're looking for is billions of dollars of investment by U.S. companies who believe that will pay off over time. I really think we've got to set our sights to the long term, meaning not days, not months, but years.
Really? I mean, talk to me more about this, how long term. So we're talking years before the average consumer could see a change in their prices at the pump?
I think that for right now, though it's moving price at the pump is the global economy. And if you look at last year, because the global economy slowed down, crude oil went down by over 22%. That led to lower gas prices. Gas prices are actually 25 cents a gallon cheaper today than they were a year ago. That's going to be the more important thing. What Americans can expect is the global economy will dominate.
All right, as it always does. Jill, thank you very much. You dominate. Thank you for being there. Appreciate it. So as you just heard from Jill, we should not expect this to affect gas prices all that much, which does raise the question of how exactly it helps the United States, if it helps the United States at all. What is it actually about? Well, if you zoom out a bit, you can maybe see the outlines of an answer. For decades, Russia, China, and Iran have been building a presence in Venezuela, a base of power and influence in the hemisphere. With Maduro now out, that base of power and influence could be out too. All right, to other news, as you just heard from Jill. Well, to other news now, to Governor Walz. No, we're going to do Mark Kelly. First day, big problems here. Are we going to Kelly here, or are we going to go to Jonah Kaplan? We're doing Mark Kelly, possibly demoted from his retired rank of captain in the Navy. Hegseth issued what's known as a letter of censure for the Arizona Democrat over his participation in a video that called on service members to defy illegal orders without specifying which orders he had in mind. Hegseth called what the former combat pilot and astronaut did an act of sedition. Now we go to Minnesota. A surprise announcement from the Great Lakes state there today. Tim Walz, the 2024 Democratic vice presidential nominee, ended his run for re-election as governor of Minnesota, quite likely ending his political career as well. It is the latest fallout from the widening fraud scandal in that state, and Jonah Kaplan's all over it. Tonight, not Minnesota, a little warmer. Appreciate you. All right, still ahead on the CBS Evening News, what vaccinations should you get your child? The government makes a major change in its recommendations. Dr. John LaPook will be here with what you need to know.
Like a relentless weed, moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms can keep coming back. Break away to what's possible with Tremfya. With symptom relief as early as 4 weeks, remission at 12 weeks, and lasting remission at 1 year. Some even saw visible healing of the intestinal lining. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and TB. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Healing is possible with Tremfya. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today.
Okay, man.
Oh, you need to vaporize that sore throat. Vapo Cool Drops. It's sore throat relief with a rush of Vicks Vapors.
Let's go, let's go, let's go! Ah!
Vaporize sore throat pain with Vicks Vapor Cool Drops.
Did you take your vitamin today?
That's my job.
Nature Made, the #1 pharmacist recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
Protests continue across Iran. Tens of thousands of people in more than 200 locations across the Islamic Republic have taken to the streets protesting the regime and chanting slogans like "Death to the Dictator." Nearly 20 protesters have been killed and hundreds more arrested. And hanging over it all, a warning to the regime from President Trump. He says America is, quote, locked and loaded and ready to go. Up next, how will the changes in the government's vaccination recommendations affect your kids? Dr. John LaPook will have some answers. Back in a moment. The CDC took the unprecedented step of slashing the number of vaccines it routinely recommends for children. Our Dr. John LaPook is here to break it all down. John, great to have you here. So where were we? What changed?
What's new is that before today, vaccination against 17 childhood illnesses were suggested for everybody. And now there are 3 categories. First category, still for everybody, but instead of 17, down to 11, things like measles, mumps, rubella, polio. Second category are for kids who are felt to be at increased risk for whatever reason. The third category are vaccinations only to be given after discussion with a healthcare provider for things like flu and COVID.
So there are parents out there who are celebrating this in part because they've never really understood, why do I have to give my baby the hepatitis B vaccine before they even leave the hospital? So what do you say to them?
And I get that. It's very complicated to try to figure out the risks and the benefits, why it's so important to have a healthcare provider with whom you can discuss this openly and empathetically. That said, the American Academy of Pediatrics calls today's recommendations dangerous and says it can continue to give their own recommendations. Remember that these are federal guidelines, overarching, but it's the states that figure out and determine what the guidelines are on an individual state level. And that can differ from state to state. We did reach out to HHS to say about insurance coverage, will it still be done? They said yes, all 3 categories will still be covered by insurance.
Okay, so parents are going to have some options for themselves.
There are, but confusing time for sure.
Dr. LaPook, thank you very much. You clarified it for us. Up next, a town was facing a fiscal crisis till someone came up with an idea that really took off. All of it off. Stay with us. You're watching the CBS Evening News.
This portion of the CBS Evening News is sponsored by Teva in support of the mental health community.
We're back with a segment we're calling Only in America, and tonight the story of a creative solution to the problem of higher taxes, a solution that you may or may not want to steal for your own town. So here's what happened. Last winter, Lakeview, Oregon couldn't afford to clear snow from all the roads, but rather than make everyone pay higher taxes, community leaders found 12 local volunteers to pose for a, yes, nude calendar. It's called Out Back Naked. Yours for a $25 donation to the town. Now, don't worry, as you can see, thanks to some artfully placed power tools and flower pots and the like, the mostly middle-aged and elderly models are still safe for your television. But the plan is working, by the way. They have raised more than $13,000 that would have been taxes, but instead, donations to the town. And they are pitching the idea to other towns as well. The presentation is called Why Granny Got Naked. For the money, of course. And that's another day in America. I can't believe they let me keep that line. For CBS News, I'm Tony Dokoupil in New York. We will see you tomorrow from Miami, my hometown. See you soon, Miami. Good night for now.